Hello. This video will show you the new features of 2019 R1, and we'll have a demonstration of a few of them. We'll start by talking about Java. Because Oracle is ending its unlimited support of multiple versions and moving to a long-term release model with support for only one version, Variant is committed to supporting our products with Oracle's current JDK, which is version 11 at the time of the release of 2019 R1. But you don't have to get Java from Oracle. OpenJDK has been offering the same features and performance for the last few years, and many of our customers are getting their Java JDKs and runtimes from places like those shown here, as well as the embedded Java available in the Unix operating systems. So you have multiple free choices to get the Java needed to run Variant's isCOBOL. Now I want to point out that 2019 R1 will work just fine with Java 8 or Java 1.8. So you don't need to change your Java version unless you have a specific reason to. Eclipse has a new version, and the isCOBOL IDE is built on Eclipse. So by updating to Eclipse's most recent version, we've absorbed their new enhancements into our own IDE. I'm going to show you one of the changes in the demo. So let's talk about the demo. We're going to look at two new features in the IDE, the mini maps and the tab order and control ID display in the screen painter. We'll go over how the new responsive layout manager helps you build screens that adjust for the screen size so your application looks just as good on a phone as it does on a large monitor. We're going to look at two new libraries, C$encrypt and C $decrypt. We're also going to look at unloading a program in the application server and why that's important. And we'll use one of the new registered file extensions that are new in 2019 R1. So let's go to the demonstration. I want to start with the new IDE. One of the features is the mini map. I'm going to come up here to the quick access bar and type mini map, and we will open it up, and it appears over here next to the properties. And it is a map of your program that you can use to quickly access different parts of your program. Now, another feature that is new in the IDE has to do with the screen painter. So I'm going to go over to the customer's screen. This is one of our samples. And I will right-click on it. And there's a new option called Show Control Numbering. And you can show the tab order in blue, or you can show the control ID in red. These colors are configurable, so by default they're blue and red. But when you're programming, it gives you a quick reference to the control ID, and the tab order will give you a better idea of the user's experience. Next, I want to run the isSamples program. And so I will right-click and run that. I've already compiled it. And we'll minimize the IDE. And you can see that the isSamples has a new look. It's a more up-to-date menu. It's using the tab accordion. It has the same areas, the GUI controls, the library routines, the intrinsic functions, and the internal objects. And we still have the source and the program that you can run. But there's a new section called New Features, and it's organized by the versions. And you can see in 2019 R1, we have a couple here to look at. So let's take a look at the responsive layout. I want to look at the source code first. And you can see here that we have a LM responsive type of layout manager with 4 settings, extra small, small, medium, and large. These cells are the width of the screen. So if the screen is, for instance, between 14 and 39 cells wide, then it will fall under the small category. Then you can use these categories in your screen section. So you can specify what happens to this property when it falls under the small category, etc. I want to go down to the toolbar, and you can see here that the push buttons have a hidden property when the screen is a small width. And then the last push button is only visible when the screen is small. And then this particular push button is at what we call a hamburger menu. And when they click on it, they'll get this hamburger toolbar. So let's take a look at how that works. I'm going to run the program. And you can see that there is a toolbar. There are labels and entry fields that are next to each other. And then if I were to make this smaller, you can see the entry fields pop down to a different line so that there's enough room. And now I'll make it smaller. Watch the toolbar. And you can see that the hamburger menu is now visible and the other push buttons have been hidden. When I click on it, I get the hamburger toolbar. This is what your screen would look like, for instance, on a cell phone. So that's responsive layout. I also want to look at $ENCRYPT and DECRYPT. Now, the sample program covers 3 of the algorithms that we support, AES, Blowfish, and RC2. I'm going to start with Blowfish, and I need an encryption key, so I've got a website here that just generates an encryption key. And I'll copy this, and we'll put some text in, and call $encrypt to encrypt it, and $decrypt to decrypt it. This also works for RC2. We'll change the data so we can see it change. And for AES. The reason I saved AES for last is it needs a 128-bit encryption key. So I'm going to come down here and get a 128-bit, a little bit longer. And we'll replace this one. And we'll make some different data here. And there is the AES encryption. Next, I want to show you $unload. I have a COB command window here for 2019, and I'm running with an OpenJDK, which I'll show you here. I got it from Adopt OpenJDK, and it's Java 11. And I'm going to start the application server, and I'm going to use this server properties file, which has my code prefix set. Now, normally when you set the code prefix, the runtime will go out and check all of the paths in the code prefix to see if the program that it has loaded in memory is the most current one. And if it isn't, it will unload the one it has and reload the new one. That is a bit of a performance hit. In order to avoid that, you can set this new configuration variable, codeprefix.reload, to false. And that's telling the runtime, don't go out and look for something new. If you have this program in memory, just use that. And that's fine until you make a change to your program. And in application server, that might mean that you would have to restart the application server, which would disrupt your whole business. We have a way around that. Start the server process with our 2 variables. Good, that's listening. I'm going to start the panel by double-clicking on this. This is an icon that you're probably used to making. It's a shortcut that shows isClient-panel and the user and the admin password. So I'll double-click on that. And this is the administrative panel. There's a new section called Loaded Programs under Server. Of course, we don't have any programs, so there aren't any here. Now, I have an icon for my application that has an ISTC extension. It's just a text file. So we'll open it up with the host name, the port, my configuration file, and the name of my application here. And this is the new extension that has been registered with isCOBOL. So I can just double-click on that. We'll run it as a demo. And I want a couple of programs running, so we'll run the products and the customer screen. And we'll run the character portion of this application. And I can see that I have telephone 1 and telephone 2, and I decide I wanted to change that. It's not very descriptive, so I'll come over here to my IDE, and the program name is isCharProg. So we have telephone 1, we'll change it to mobile. Telephone 2 can be other. And I'll save that and compile it. You can see it's compiling down here. And then we'll minimize this. And I'll escape. And we'll run it again. However, telephone 1 and 2 has not changed, and that's because I told the runtime not to go out and check for a new version of this program to save time. So let's bring up the administrative panel. Now I'll do an F5 for refresh. You can see this is the session that we're running. We'll come to Server and Loaded Programs. And here under Server Date Time, this is what's loaded in the runtime framework. And Disk Date Time, this is what is on the disk. And you notice that this line is in red. I'm going to click on Show Changed Programs. And so we know that this program has changed. Now if I unload it, I'm going to click here on Unload Selected. Now when someone starts up that program again, the runtime will have to go out and get the new version and load it. So let's test that. We'll escape from this and we will load it again. And there's our mobile and other. So that's the C $ unload and how it is used in the application server. Now there are some other changes in 2019 that I want to point out. If you use isCOBOL to generate your bridge programs for EIS, you can now put code in between the end and start tag of that bridge program. Also, the database bridge, also called EasyDB, will now support your binary, sequential, line sequential, and relative files, as well as the indexed. OOP syntax now supports the ANSI specified interface-ID paragraph. The new Java 11 version doesn't include the Java Web Start, and some of our customers use that to automatically install and update their application from the web. So to replace it, we have enhanced our isUpdater so it will do the same. You could always put a bitmap or text on a push button. Now you can do both. The text will overlay the bitmap. And as always, we've added more compatibility enhancements so that the move from other COBOL dialects to isCOBOL is smoother. And that's the overview of 2019 R1. I hope that you try it out. Please contact support or your sales representative. We'll get you an evaluation license or your update if you need it. Thank you.